One late night, Billionaire CEO Adrian Cole receives a mysterious envelope marked only with the words, "Can you read this letter? It's urgent." Inside is a message that will shake his empire and force him to face the human cost of his success. This is the story of a single letter powerful enough to change a life, and a legacy, forever. The skyscraper's top floor lay quiet except for the soft hum of the city below. Midnight lights from 1,000 windows glittered like restless stars, but inside the private office of Billionaire CEO Adrian Cole, only a single desk lamp burned. The day had been long, endless meetings, strategic calls, and the kind of decisions that shaped entire industries. Adrian loosened his tie and leaned back, savoring a rare silence. He thought he was finally done when a sharp electronic chime echoed from the private elevator. No one should have access after hours. His assistant had left hours ago. Adrian's brow furrowed as the elevator doors parted and a security guard stepped in, holding a plain, cream-colored envelope. "Sir," the guard said, slightly out of breath, "this was delivered just now. No return address." The courier insisted it was urgent. Adrian almost waved it off. He received countless letters every week, investor proposals, charity pleas, even the occasional threat. But something about this one froze him. There was no logo, no handwriting on the back. Just a single line scrawled across the front in bold black ink, "Can you read this letter? It's urgent." He reached for it reluctantly. The paper felt heavier than it should, the corners crisp and cold against his fingers. He examined it under the lamplight, searching for a clue. No stamp, no sender's name, not even a watermark. The guard shifted uneasily. "Who brought it?" Adrian asked. The guard hesitated. "A young woman. Hooded. She didn't give a name, just said you'd understand when you read it. Then she disappeared before I could ask anything else." Adrian's curiosity sharpened. He slid a letter opener along the seal, the soft rip of paper echoing too loudly in the still room. Inside was a single sheet of cream stationery. The handwriting was deliberate yet slightly shaky, like someone writing through a storm of emotion. He read the first line, and stopped breathing. "You don't know me, but your choices changed my life forever." A strange chill traveled up his spine. His mind scrambled through the countless deals and mergers, the factories his company had bought, the layoffs, the lawsuits quietly settled. The next sentence felt heavier than the first. "Before you decide to ignore this, remember that some mistakes can't be buried in boardrooms." Adrian set the page down, pulse quickening. Outside, the city lights blurred against the glass like streaks of fire. He sensed, without fully understanding why, that this letter wasn't another baseless complaint. It carried a weight that pierced the armor of his success. He leaned forward again, drawn back to the paper. Each word beckoned like a whisper in a locked room. Whatever this message contained, he knew instinctively that opening this envelope had already altered something deep inside him, something he couldn't undo. Adrian stared at the letter's next lines, the words tightening like a knot around his chest. "You built an empire on efficiency. But the decisions that made you rich destroyed the lives of people like my father." His jaw clenched. Which decision? Which merger? He'd negotiated hundreds, each a calculated move to stay ahead in an unforgiving market. He read on. "My father worked at the Crestfield plant for 22 years. The night your company acquired it, you ordered an immediate cost-cutting review. Within a week, the plant closed. Hundreds lost their jobs overnight. My father was one of them. He searched for work until the day he collapsed from exhaustion. He never found another job. He never forgave you. Neither did I." Adrian leaned back, a cold ache creeping through his chest. Crestfield. He remembered that acquisition, 5 years ago, a struggling manufacturing facility bought for pennies. The numbers had been brutal but clean: shutter the site, outsource production overseas, raise margins. His board called it visionary. He had signed the order himself without a second thought. The letter continued. I was 16 when everything fell apart. We lost our home. My mother worked 3 jobs until her health failed. I watched the man who taught me kindness wither in silence because one man, one name on a contract, decided his life was an expense to cut. Adrian rubbed his temples. Memories surfaced of that quarter's investor meeting, applause, record profits, his own smug satisfaction at streamlining operations. He had never considered the families behind the figures. I am not asking for charity. I am asking you to see the people behind your spreadsheets. You have the power to mend what you broke. Prove that your wealth can build instead of destroy. The final sentence struck with the precision of a blade. If you truly read this letter, don't ignore it. Lives still hang in the balance. He set the page down, fingers trembling. Outside his floor-to-ceiling windows, the city pulsed with late-night traffic, but the world suddenly felt distant and hollow. Adrian pushed back from the desk and paced. He remembered the day of the Crestfield decision, a quick vote, an easy signature. No one had mentioned the workers' names, their families, their hopes. They were a line item, nothing more. He looked at the letter again. It wasn't a demand for money, not a threat of legal action. It was a plea for humanity, a mirror held up to his own indifference. In the stillness of his office, the usual buzz of ambition dissolved into a heavy quiet. Adrian thought of his own father, a teacher who had once said, "The worth of a man isn't what he builds, but what he heals." For the first time in years, Adrian felt the sharp sting of shame. This wasn't just a letter. It was an indictment, and an invitation. And he knew he couldn't walk away unchanged. Adrian stood at the window as dawn seeped pale gold across the skyline. The letter lay open on his desk like a quiet challenge, its words echoing louder than the city's waking hum. He hadn't slept. Instead, he replayed every acquisition, every congratulatory toast, every headline that celebrated his genius, and felt a weight he could no longer ignore. By 6 a.m., his decision was made. He tapped a number on his phone. "Elaine," he said when his chief of staff answered groggily, "call an emergency board meeting. 1 hour. No excuses." Within the hour, the sleek glass conference room filled with bleary-eyed executives clutching coffee and confusion. Adrian entered without a tie, the letter folded neatly in his hand. He didn't sit. "I received something last night," he began, voice steady but charged. It wasn't a threat, not a lawsuit. It was a reminder of what we've become, and what I've allowed. He slid the letter across the polished table. "Read it." Murmurs rose as the board members scanned the page. Adrian continued. "Years ago, I signed an order to close Crestfield. I justified it as strategy. But to the people who worked there, it was devastation. I can't undo the past, but I will not pretend it never happened." A director cleared his throat. "Adrian, we followed protocol." "This." "No," Adrian interrupted, his voice firm. "Protocol isn't enough. We measure success in profit, but ignore the lives behind the numbers. That ends today." He outlined a plan that startled the room, a restitution fund for every Crestfield employee laid off, retroactive health benefits for their families, and a new foundation dedicated to supporting workers displaced by corporate restructuring across all their ventures. "And it will be funded from my personal holdings," he added, silencing objections. Some board members exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke against him. Adrian could feel the shift in the room, the realization that this wasn't a proposal for debate. It was a decision. By mid-morning, he faced a cluster of reporters in the company's media hall. Cameras flashed as he stepped to the podium. "This company owes a debt, not just in dollars, but in dignity," he said. "Today we begin to repay it. Not because of public pressure, but because it's right." He announced the new foundation and the restitution program, speaking with a clarity that surprised even himself. We will measure our success not only by profit margins but by the lives we uplift. As questions erupted, Adrian felt a strange calm settle over him. The letter's author might never stand in front of him, might never know the impact of those carefully chosen words. But their message had done its work. Later, back in his office, Adrian placed the folded letter in a glass frame on his shelf. A silent promise glimmered inside, that power means nothing if it can't heal what it once harmed.